Farm for Profit Podcast. Take a listen, have a blast. Farm for Profit Podcast. Learn about farming while having a laugh. Farm for Profit Podcast.
And let's see if I can do this. Lydia Lelachenko is an account executive at EOS Data Analytics, has more than 6 years of experience with various SaaS solutions for sales and research activities in sensory analysis. Do you know what any of that means?
You just right over my head.
Holds a master's degree in viticulture. Viticulture. What is that, like wine?
Wine.
Okay. I love this already. Wine. Oh, winemaking.
Or grapes. Yeah.
Marketing. Oh my goodness. This is not English, Lydia. École supérieure des agriculturistes de... What am I trying to read?
De Angers.
It's French, but actually it's pronounced danger.
Oh my goodness.
Like a danger, though.
I never would have guessed. So that's French, but are you French?
No, I'm not. I'm actually Ukrainian.
So are you in Ukraine right now?
Yes, I'm actually talking with you from Kiev.
Wow. Well, maybe we should start off with a little update from Kiev before we dive into the topic. How are things? What's it like?
Well, last night was pretty loud, I would say. Because, recently, the day from day, we're kind of suffering from missiles attack all the time. So I hope I look fresh enough.
You look great.
But
Yeah.
it's kind of complicated. Thank you. Yeah. It's 10:30 p.m. in here. Kind of quiet right now. So, yeah.
So
It's going to be like this the whole time.
10:30 p.m. there, listeners. It's 2:30 p.m. here in Iowa, to give you an idea of what that time difference is. So is there a typical time of day that you've been having these attacks, or is it random hours?
It's usually kind of random hours, but recently it's mostly nights. I kind of love doing that at like 4 a.m.
Wow.
for some reason.
And are they targeting like military assets or just random bombings, or what's going on?
No, it kind of looks like a random bombings because, to be honest, like the sound of the rocket flying over my house tonight was not kind of sounded like it was like targeting a military object.
Right.
Wow. And it's been going on for more than a year, correct?
Yeah, already.
So how has agriculture around your area been impacted?
Oh, it's been impacted actually a lot because a lot of fields in Ukraine being within the different mines, so they're kind of having the risks of farmers exploding basically while they're sowing.
Right.
It's kind of really complicated and kind of issue, but we're leveraging that as well in OSDA.
I think I've seen like deminers going through some fields, like and doing some of that kind of stuff on Twitter. Like it's very interesting at times that we don't know.
So right now, the growing season that your farmers are in, are you sowing crops? Is it almost harvest? What's that season look like?
So that depends on the crop, of course, but it's already have started, and basically because of war going on, basically there's this preliminary work that needs to be done. So the people who are about to sow, they or like need to collaborate with the people who are like taking the mines off. And of course, they're doing that within different matters, let's say. And so like satellite technology helps as well in there. So they're going to the fields directly as well, trying to monitor in before, and then they're starting the sowing. But still, unfortunately, sometimes when people are not performing those activities up front, their life can be in danger.
Mm-hmm. So you're being bombed around your area. What's the tenor or the emotion of the farmers there? What do they feel right now?
Cannot say directly, but from the perspective of how we can see their behavior, they're doing incredible things. They're restless. They're just like taking the trash they're going in the fields, because otherwise they understand that we're gonna encounter some troubles with food supplies and further on. So they're
Wow.
heroes.
They are heroes. Well, that's good. I don't want to dwell on this anymore, because that's not what you joined us for today. So we appreciate the insight and added bonus for this conversation today. But before we jump into who EOSDA is, let's first learn more about Lydia. So did I say it correct? Lelechenko? Lelechenko. So tell us about yourself.
Okay, so as you have already said, so basically I have more than 6 years basically in SaaS technologies, but in my base degree, I'm winemaker, and it's more like, winemaker marketing related thing. So it was a journey of the 2 years of master degree around the France, Spain, and Italy. And the sensor analysis thing that you have mentioned, basically, it's the office in the northern part of the Italy in a city called Brescia. And what I was doing there, I was writing there my thesis and having continuously tastings of like wine and different other products of the region to build the sensory profile of that.
Wow.
And then
Go ahead.
Yeah, and then basically I came back to Ukraine, and I've started my journey in IT, but in a completely different sphere, not related to agriculture. And recently, like around half a year ago, I've joined EOS, and it's kind of been an incredible journey so far.
Okay, so Dave, what are SaaS products? What is SaaS Solutions? Do you know what that stands for?
I don't.
Corey?
I couldn't tell you what it means.
Lydia, what is SaaS?
SaaS is software as a service.
Ah.
Yeah, I didn't know either.
Cloud-based software solutions.
Cloud-based software solutions.
We just don't know soft things. We don't know soft goods.
No, orthopedic soft
Software.
goods.
Yeah.
So
Thought
then,
about that as well.
who is EOS Data Analytics, or as you call it, EOSDA?
Yeah. So Earth Observation System Data Analytics. So EOS Data Analytics is actually a global provider of satellite analysis solutions. There's like mainly focused on the agriculture and forestry, but actually can operate within like around 22 different industries on the quest.
Very interesting. I gotta ask before we get too deep into the weeds here. So you're into winemaking. Are you drinking some wine tonight?
I think I'm gonna have a glass after the podcast.
After you could have one during it. I'm just
you're welcome to.
You're welcome to.
I understand.
What's your favorite?
The water still, but it's actually a super common question. It's super hard to answer though.
Okay.
I love the variety of different wines because there's so many of them.
Like to try them all. I like that.
Yeah.
I like sweet wine, not dry wine.
Well,
And probably a wine connoisseur
also have
prefers the dry.
yeah. You also have the taste buds of like a teenage girl, Dave.
Yeah.
Not always like that. It actually can be an indicator of very high taste, because some of the sweet wines are actually super expensive because they're produced under certain circumstances when there's just favorable conditions for the wines. It needs to have like certain condition to have a particular mold on the top, and basically then being elaborated into sweet wine.
Oh.
It's like glamping, except wine tasting.
There you
It's
go.
like
You just have the elite.
wiping.
You have the elite tastes.
Yeah.
And the elite tastes and people that you hang out with.
That's what I heard.
The wine that you drink.
That's what I heard.
Okay. Sorry, I just had to ask that. Yeah.
No, that was a great question. Okay, so Lydia, why would your experience with EOS DA matter to our listeners who are farmers?
Well, it's a very great intro question, I would say. It's just because we really true make the difference for the farmers, because basically our solution can help to elaborate on the problems that farmers are encounter every day. And we can both have the possibility to actually see what those problems are, collect them, elaborate on them, and find the solution. It's like in general.
Yeah. Because you're utilizing technology to help farmers make observations and generate potential solutions. So it says right here that your company background utilizes numbers and cutting edge geospatial data analytics partnered with AI to help boost business globally and address the challenges that face farmers today.
Completely right. So basically, it's a full cycle. I would call it like this, because we have a team of around 220 people working together. Some of them are working on the elaboration of the software that we are actually offering to our final customers. And we do have as well a team of 25 PhD professors and 60 in-house scientists who are actually working with the all agro-related, not only agro-related things, basically to develop those artificial intelligence models for the elaboration of the data that were taken from the satellites.
Satellites. How many times do you use a satellite on your farm, Corey?
Oh man, when we're in the field, all day.
That's true. Your GPS.
Yep.
Do you still have one of the DTN monitors for weather?
No, but then I'm also thinking too, like we have a lot of services now that provide satellite imagery
Oh, right.
for crops, and that's a daily thing.
Yeah. Your cell phone.
I'm guessing a lot of weather models and things like that kind of use some satellites along with radar.
Yeah. Dave, what about you in your business?
So I have Starlink. So use Starlink for internet service, phones, mapping software.
Yeah.
For sure. I'm sure there's more than that.
Did you see that Starlink is coming to moving vehicles?
Yes.
Possibly.
Wow.
That could be huge for ag.
That could be.
Internet on the go.
So, Lydia, does EOS have their own satellites?
Yes, we do. I was actually thinking that we're going to then move to that topic a bit further on, but I'm actually love talking about our satellite because it's a pretty exciting thing. I mean, I don't know how about you guys, but I'm working in a company that launched their own satellite. The first out of the constellation of 7 of them. So it's an incredible path, the way that we have went through before launching our own first satellite. And so basically what you, I think, need to know about the constellation is it's the first ever 100% agri-focused constellation of the satellites.
So, what does that mean?
That means basically that the inside manner of the satellite is focused to resolve the problems of everyone who's working on the fields. Not just farmers, but also some third parties who are providing their service to the farmers. So input suppliers, banks, insurance, telecom, it's huge. Going precisely on what does it make is kind of special. So inside of the satellites, there's a certain range of different bands. They're sensitive to some spectrum, starting from infrared to ultraviolet, vice versa. I'm always confusing. But still, so our first satellite that we have launched, EOSat-1, it has 11 specified bands that kind of help to focus on those things that triggers that kind of it's not working for the farmers. Uh, Further on, each of the satellite will gonna have 13 specialized bands. I don't know if you need the details
Well, so I'm
on the bands and how the level.
I'm just trying to think of, it's going to be the first ag specific constellation, which is interesting to me, which means the imagery that we're already getting is shared space,
Right.
shared satellite imagery. So when the constellation is put together, are these 7 satellites all going to be over Ukraine, or are they orbiting? How's that work?
I would say that would be really impressive in case that would be only all over Ukraine. Too much of attention. But they're actually about to cover the whole Earth. So what I would say, also you've mentioned about the public satellites that are right now flooding. So mostly the solutions that we can encounter on the market, and also us, they're working with the Sentinel-2, because basically the information that is needed on the vegetation indices and all the other things related to the health maps of the crops can be kind of retrieved from Sentinel-2. The fact is the resolution. So the highest resolution for now for the Sentinel-2 is 10 by 10 meters. EOSat and all the other satellites that are going to be on the orbit by the time of 2025 is having the resolution of panchromatic multispectral, and will be given the possibility to have the resolution up to 1.5 meter pixel.
So
It's a
1.5
huge difference.
by 1.5. So you're really honing in. You're getting better pixels, I guess,
Yep.
if you want to put it into a picture frame. So by going just ag alone, you're getting better quality, is what you're shooting for.
Absolutely correct.
So less
And
than
it's also going to be, yeah.
so 1.5 meters is less than 5 feet.
Right.
So 5 foot by 5 foot from space.
So
And-
basically, let me do the clarification
Yep.
in here. So the panchromatic and multispectral imagers, there's like two different, like 1.4 to 2.8 meters, respectively,
Okay.
just to be super precise.
Right.
Nice.
I didn't realize when you launch what do you call it? Constellation. I thought they were just all launched at one time.
Constellation, yeah, there's only one. No, we're doing that gradually. Because actually, the launching of the satellites is kind of a big deal.
Well,
And
yeah.
a complicated thing. So our first satellite was launched on the 3rd of January this year with the first mission of SpaceX of this year. And I was watching it. It was pretty impressive.
Do you think anybody can throw anything they want into space, or do you have to have like a paid parking spot permit?
A permit.
I think you need to have that. It's, well, but because basically we're talking about this discourse of space garbage and stuff like this. But definitely the quantity of satellites in space right now is like growing drastically. Not everyone are launching them just because it kind of
It's expensive.
time, money, effort. Yeah.
So you use SpaceX? Is that what we said?
Yep.
Does that be Elon Musk?
Elon, yeah, he was kind of postponing that launch a couple of times, but finally it was pretty successful.
Good.
So
Our satellite was actually the last in the queue, because there was around 214 satellites that were going in the space, and I was the last. But it was it had its own magic, because we actually saw how it was separating from the rocket and
wow,
floating in the space. Imagine.
that's pretty cool. So why is it important to EOSDA to have their own constellation? What benefit is this providing to the farmer?
Basically, this decision came to us about the launching of the satellite. Basically, when we already had a very exhaustive background of the things that were troubling farmers. So we realized that there were some kind of requests. They were coming to us with those requests. And we understood that the Sentinel-2 or any other satellite Landsats, but like our others, it's not enough. And we were thinking how to deal with that. And then this ambitious idea came up and realized that, like, yeah, it's totally possible. It's tough, but it's possible. One of the main things actually that the AOSAT is gonna work with, it's basically that we're working within the UN sustainability goals. And it's about developing really the solution that's, it can sound a bit, like vague, but like to make the world a better place in the space as well.
So that's something that was interesting, and part of the connection from us to you in Ukraine is EOS has a sustainability project in Iowa, and that project is focused on something specific. Fill us in on what that project looks like.
Absolutely. So I'm going to just give you a short overview on that case. So basically, at the end of July of 2022, the northwest of Iowa was kind of suffering from the extreme drought for around 6 weeks. And that period is actually was kind of important for the pollination of corn. And basically, the thing is, it was just like the complex of different parameters we needed to be in line in order then not just to, remain without the harvest. And so basically, AOS Data Analytics managed to basically tackle the things and to turn it around to understand what's going to happen and then ensure that actually everything passed kind of well. Because even though within the weather conditions, it seemed that there's like drought, so in theory, there should be the lack of water, both inside of the plant and inside of the soil. But we managed to think and see that, actually, the soil still has the possibility to retain the water. The weather, even though it's kind of dry, during the night, the temperature are kind of optimal to still kind of save the quantity of water that is necessary for the plant to then pollinate successfully. And yeah.
So through that case study, your company was able to help collect enough data to help provide some solutions or some suggestions. Because Corey, that was, Northwest Iowa is where my family farms, and it was dry. And it was fascinating to see how the hybrids kept up.
Right.
How well hybrids performed, even though there was little to no rain. But you've had dry years too. And have you been surprised with production?
Yeah, we typically are better in a dry year,
Yeah.
but not too dry.
Right. So with the abilities, the data analytics, using the AI algorithms, all the pieces that EOS DA puts together, that's how the satellites are just a tool. They're just one piece of the future of really data for farmers, right?
True that. It gives you the tool and the range and opportunities and how you can use that. Because basically, even relying on that use case in Iowa, basically what the farmers were able to see, of course, within the professional interpretation, say. So it was both the conditions of the land and of the fields of the corn directly. So there was this parameter of NDMI, so the moisture index that indicates the quantity of the water inside of the plant. Then there was also the information on precipitation level. Then there was things that was reporting the soil moisture, so the quantity of water on the top of the soil, and they were like 5 centimeters and around 60, 70 centimeters in depth, in root zone, basically. And the combination of all this gives you the image of like saying, okay, this can work, or like there's something that I can do on extra. For example, include the aggregation.
Right. I've got your guys' website pulled up here, and so it looks like you guys have a mobile scouting app as well.
Oh, yeah, we do.
That's interesting.
I love it. I'm going to explain. When I'm doing the demos for our prospects, actually, I've selected the field of my parents in Ukraine. And what this application for scouting gives you, it gives you the possibility to go precisely on a certain point indicated. So it's basically giving you the exact coordinates. You can go in there. Someone is kind of assigning you the task, so you know what to do in there. Then you're going there. You're basically doing the measurements. You're taking the pictures. You're uploading this to the system. And like this, basically, the crop monitoring platform is actually becoming the tool of communication as well.
Right.
And what I love specifically is this kind of new feature that we've introduced recently is the check-in. I don't know. I'm probably because I was kind of used to use a lot of social networks, and there was this social network to check in into different places that you've been.
Okay.
So I think that this kind of be a thing. But talking seriously about this, basically, it's actually a possibility to control as well, whereas the task that you have assigned to the person was actually fulfilled in the correct time. So like this, you can be even somewhere miles away. You can be in a different country, but you can still track on how that went on.
Very interesting.
That's a good point, because you may send someone out to get soil samples, and all for you know is they just went 30 feet into the field, took all your samples,
Yeah.
and pulled back out.
We have that right now. We asked for grid samples at our place, and the guy came back and said, here's your soil sample. Well, the previous one we got showed the field and showed where they took the samples. This one just said, here's your report. So we emailed him back and said, did you take more than one? And he says, yeah, I took 4. Okay, well, can you tell us where you took them? Nope.
Well, that's important.
So I think he went 30 feet in the field, took a soil sample, and walked out.
So, Lydia, are these products that you guys are selling, is that like coming to me direct to the farmer, or is that going to, say, like another service that sells me, you know, I'm just thinking like Climate that sells me, obviously, a whole app?
Well, basically the platform is like whole and ready, and you can basically just go in our official website. You can request a trial.
Okay.
You can try it on, basically. So usually we are working with the direct sales, but also, of course, we have the case scenarios in which we're partnering with some other companies who are reselling the platform on our behalf.
That's what I wondered, just because every seed company and every fertilizer company has satellite imagery. You know, for all we know, they're getting it from the same source. Are we paying for the same thing over and over again?
Same with like tax data. Most of the companies and mapping software that sell the landowners, they all get it from the same place in California.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because that's the interesting side of this is once they get EOS Sat7 up and they have an ag-specific network, now there's potentially extreme value for the data that comes from EOS to overlay or check the validity on.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's also kind of exclusive data. Because right now what we're talking about, the public satellites, yes, it's kind of available for everyone, but the beauty as well of EOS Sat Constellation is that there's actually the possibility to collaborate with us direct and do the surveillance and remote sensing on demand.
See,
What about a big thing that a lot of farmers over here are concerned about is their data, and whether it's theirs or a lot of our data just gets sold off. It might get, what do you call it, anonymous or anonymized or whatever. Is the data that you guys providing, is that for just us, or is that being sold to someone else as well?
Depends on how we're tackling this topic, because basically whenever we're talking about the public satellites, you're drawing the polygon and you actually can see what's the information in there.
Right.
But in case of any kind of a personal information, your account remains completely your personally. No one's going to take it, because I know the issue when actually some of the providers are kind of providing you the service, trying to make it for free, and then you're finding in your mailbox some kind of advertisement. We're like, oh,
right.
Do you need that seed? And you're like, how even that happened? No, it's not basically how we work now.
Right.
So the question that I had is, you stated in there that your family farms, correct? What types of... Go ahead.
No, you asked me about the field that I told you about the scouting.
Yep. So what types of crops does your family raise?
Oh, it's a really small thing. So it's like a really couple of hectares. But yeah, it's just like basic things like potatoes, lettuce, tomatoes, like a simple gardening. I wouldn't call it like, professional growing. Just
Sure, but you're still able to get data on that size of, you said just a couple hectares, to where they're still finding value in it. You're at least able to use that data for demonstration.
Absolutely correct. So the fact is that based on our experience within the resolution of Sentinel-2, in order to get the information, it's going to be like of high validity. The field should be starting from 3 hectares and more.
Okay.
The fact is that for the crop monitoring platform, for the fields that are like less than 3 hectares, we also have the incorporated high imagery that can give you the resolution up to 3 by 3 meters.
Wow.
But that's an extra, but of course, definitely that's something that can be activated. And of course, within the EOSAT constellation, definitely it's going to be much more easier to tackle. Yeah, because it's not just, the fields of my parents, it's kind of small. We're talking about various countries where the half of the hectare is kind of normal size.
Mm-hmm. Right. So as we sit here and have this conversation today, obviously you've kind of blown us away with the technology about how we can have a constellation of satellites that are launched specifically for agriculture, how you can get that imagery and resolution down to such a very small space. We also appreciate your insight on the conditions in Ukraine as we sit, and how agriculture around the world is connected by all of these same needs and same problems that need solutions that we can use data for. How would you best kind of wrap up this conversation as to where the value's at for our listeners to consider something like this?
So I would say basically that using remote sensing can give you a lot of benefits that actually can fortify your position, that can your capacities. So I would really strong accent on the sustainability and basically how EOS data analytics aligns with those sustainable priorities. So we're thinking and we're working with the climate action, the things related to clean water and sanitation, the sustainable cities and communities as well, the responsible consumption and the production in general. Everything that's related to ending the hunger problems and industrial innovation. Mm-hmm. Those are things that we're like kind of relying on, and we're working with that within multiple things. Of course, And unfortunately, understand that the whole time for our conversation today will not be enough to explain everything.
That's right. That's right. Well, I've got one question that's out of the episode and then our summary question. You guys wrapped up?
Yep.
Okay. So I want to ask a pointed question. You don't have to answer it, but it's more around my curiosity about Ukraine and the situation you and everybody is in, especially, like you said, the farmers who are playing the roles of heroes, as well as many others that are doing the same. So why stay? Why stay in potentially the face of danger?
Because Ukraine is an amazing, huge, strong country. And to be honest, in case we're talking about the agro, have you seen those lands? The soils of Ukraine are so rich that in case you're gonna like squeeze the land, it basically leaks with the oil in sense of like the
Yep.
richness of the soil. Anything grows in here. It's incredible. We're talking about grain, we're talking about fruits, we're talking about all the types of the crops. That's related to agro.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's still an amazing country, and we're free people. We love our country, and we're definitely here to stay and defend our borders till the end.
I love that.
Very good.
Corey, you want to ask the summarizing question? Or the question for all the guests, and I'll summarize?
I did have one question.
Oh, you found one.
No, I've had.
Oh,
no, I don't read the sheet. I come up with my own. I've seen some imagery. Some companies say that you can take images and see nutrient deficiencies. Are you guys going into that possibly from space?
Yeah, of course. I mean, we are working that direction, and definitely our Constellations gonna add to that, because basically we will be able to estimate better, well, the yield in general, and also some like components of the land, in case that was basically what you were questioning about. Just giving you the note, it's just like launching of the Constellation. It's not the whole thing. We have the roadmap of the things that we're planning to roll in terms of the functionalities. And this is a kind of list that continues quarter by quarter. And in general, we have the plan for around like 5 years up front. So yeah, definitely what you have mentioned is of course on our radar.
Okay. Cool. And then I will ask the payoff question that we ask everyone. If you could tell yourself, if you could go back and see yourself at 18, what would you tell yourself?
So you can think about it. I will do a little bit of a summary about what we talk about today, and then we'll get right back into that. So we had Lydia from Ukraine, account executive with EOS Data Analytics, who joined us today. One, to share her very unique background as to where she got to where she is, her love for wine, and now for the data that helps power agriculture forward. We jumped right into the EOS Sat-1 that got launched with SpaceX here at the beginning of 2023. And the fact that there will be 6 more, creating a constellation of 7 that will be an ag-specific constellation that will provide ag-specific resources for all of our farmers and listeners to use to be able to take the data from those satellites, combine it with AI, other algorithms that are put together by their team of researchers and PhD professors, tied in also with scientists, to create solutions, to be able to do crop scouting, to be able to look for potential deficiencies within your products, and is something that can be used by a listener that farms tens of thousands of acres and some that farm just a couple acres or hectares in Lydia's case. Utilizing the connectivity around the world to work on case studies. They had a case study right here in Iowa working on drought-tolerant crops, as well as looking at other ways to impact the sustainability of agriculture. So just wanted to expose our listeners today to the future of technology and really appreciate Lydia sharing that with us. So, Lydia, if you could go back to age 18, what advice or what would you tell yourself?
I think the first phrase would be, "You're never going to believe this, but listen." Yeah, and there probably I would listed the things that I'm living with right now, both good and bad.
Yeah.
But of course, like, in terms of working in such sphere, like helping people working on the land. I mean, I know what means working on the land because I used to drive a tractor in vineyards in France. So I know how hard this work is. And in case there's anything to facilitate that hard work, and I'm working with that, I think I'm doing the right thing.
That's great.
Good.
Dave, Corey, you want to tack a challenge?
I got a challenge for you,
Go ahead.
but it's not for our listeners. It's for Lydia.
Oh,
Lydia, I am sure you speak other languages other than English. What other languages do you speak?
Oh, I love this question. So I speak Ukrainian,
Okay.
English, French, Italian, and Spanish.
So
wow.
we should record you saying, you should listen to the Farm for Profit podcast in each one of those languages. That's the challenge.
Oh,
That's tricky because Farm for Profit is not standard, but I'm sure she could get it figured out.
Sure.
So how does that sound in Ukrainian?
farm for profit? But that's kind of interesting. But I wouldn't say that actually there's something that the naming should be translated. I mean,
Yeah, that's a good point.
Probably just the name of the name of the deal, but you should listen
You
to.
should listen to the Farm for Profit podcast.
okay, then like short message like you should listen to Farm for Profit podcast.
Yeah.
Okay, so first it's going to be Ukrainian, okay? Вам точно необхідно слухати подкасти Farm for Profit.
I love that.
That's cool.
That was really cool.
In English, well, you basically said it
Yeah,
already.
yep.
So, in French, that would be vous devrez absolument écouter le Femme for Profit podcast.
Wow. That sounded better.
Yeah.
And in Spanish, that would be, I think, necesitamos escuchar la Farm for Profit podcast.
I love that.
And in Italian, that would be dobbiamo per forza ascoltare il Farm per Profit podcast.
That was awesome.
That was it. There is no better way to end this show. Lydia, this has been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure for me as well. You kind of lit my evening today.
There we go.
That's good. Go have a glass of wine, take cover, and hopefully all is well. We'll stay in touch.
Be safe.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.